and publish over 125 database stories. Code for Africa is one of our core partners in data training and mentorship.
Before participating in our program, just 17% of the journalists said they usually use data visualization in their stories, while 83% of the journalists said they rarely incorporated data. But after our program, 66% of journalists said they usually or always use data visualization in their stories.
Journalists also value the skills learned overall in InfoNIL program. Data sourcing, data analysis, and visualization skills increased in our various data journalism training and mentorship programs based on assessment of journalists before and after the program.
In an effort to increase connections and collaborations between journalists and scientists, in 2022, we also launched our flagship NEWF platform. The platform involves direct communication between users, science journalism discussion forums, stories, and resources such as scientific research and data visualizations. More than 300 journalists and scientists have so far registered for accounts.
In 2021, InfoNIL supported 10 journalists from 9 countries to document everyday water stories around the Nile River and its tributaries. Published under the hashtag #EverydayNile, the photojournalism outreach project meant to capture everyday life in the Nile Basin countries and aims at promoting cooperation and understanding of the water issues around the Nile River as a shared natural resource. In 2022, InfoNIL was able to support 2 of the photographers to take the photos back to the communities they covered for the exhibition and discussion. The first community photo exhibition was held at Ripon landing site, the closest site to the source of the Nile River in Uganda that was impacted by flooding in 2020. The second community exhibition was held at Rusinga Island, an island in Lake Victoria in Kenya, displaying photos about a group of fishermen who had switched to using solar-powered lamps to fish at night, rather than kerosene lamps. Along with working with journalists, we strive to reach young people who are early in their careers to interest them in science journalism from a young age. From October to December, we organized the second edition of the Science Communication Competition for university students in Africa on the theme of groundwater and biodiversity.
I'm so excited. I can't believe this. I mean, I've learned a lot from this. Efforts yield positivity. This is all I can say. I love the teamwork. I love all the qualities that will be implemented in. A scientist, a technician, a journalist. I like that. And I really enjoy the teamwork here. Thanks, InfoNIL, and thank you for giving us this prize.
We asked the students to produce stories communicating science using videos, podcasts, texts, and photo stories. Submissions were judged by a panel of scientists and journalists. The 3 top winners were awarded in a ceremony in December 2022 and received small cash prizes.
In 2022, InfoNIL projects were funded by JRS Biodiversity Foundation, DUPC2, IHE Delft Water and Partnership Program, the Earth Journalism Network, the Nile Basin Initiative, and Media in Cooperation and Transition. Our other clients and partners also included Traffic, WaterAid, GIZ, Media for Environment, Science, Health and Agriculture, Oxpecker's Investigative Environmental Journalism, the French Embassy in Uganda, and the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change.
At InfoNIL, in Water Journalists Africa, we will continue leading the way in reporting, in covering environment-driven journalism with innovation and excellence. We commit to continuing to push boundaries and thinking outside the box. Together with you and all our partners, we can continue to achieve great success with the stories we cover and make real impact in our industry. The success in the data and science journalism in the Nile Basin. Partnerships will help us achieve and expand impact. InfoNIL, let's make it happen.
Um, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us for the 18th session of NEWF Science Wednesday. Thank you very much. I can see several of you are still coming in, but in the interest of time, we'll not be able to wait for everyone to join us. We are going to start right away. And I'm glad to see each one of you. So quickly, I would like us to introduce ourselves in the chat box. Please say your name, your country, your organization, what you do. Are you a scientist? Are you a journalist? And your institution, if you don't mind sharing. For those who are joining us for the very first time, my name is Deli Sive. I work for Info Now as the communications officer under Water Journalists Africa. And this webinar has been brought to you proudly by Water Journalists Africa. So Water Journalists Africa was established in 2011 as an NGO that boasts of journalists from 50 African countries. And all these journalists are dedicated to reporting on water, climate change, and wildlife across the continent of Africa. So under the Water Journalists Africa, we have several other initiatives. We have InfoNile, we have NILEL, and the EPS Reporting Project. The EPS Reporting Project was formerly known as the Big Gorilla Story Project, and it is a project that is dedicated to the conservation of apes, a species that is commonly misunderstood, and their habitats in Africa are commonly vandalized, or rather they're really being misused around Africa through. So we cover these stories through journalism. Infonile, as you all know, is a geojournalism platform and a cross-border network comprising of approximately 1,000 journalists. These journalists cover stories on water and the environment in the Nile Basin. We cover these critical stories using data and science-based multimedia storytelling. So it is under the Infonile that we developed the Nile Well. This is a platform that facilitates collaboration between journalists and scientists. So to bring you up to speed to the objective of this session and many others that we've had before, this being the 18th edition of NILEL Science Wednesdays, we hold the NILEL Science Wednesday to facilitate learning and collaboration between journalists and scientists based on different science communication topics that are shared. So we hope at the end of this session, you're going to learn something new and you're going to develop different story ideas out of this session. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. I will also give you an opportunity to unmute and ask your questions directly to the speakers. I'm still those who are just joining us. I'm encouraging you to please introduce yourself in the chat box, your name, your country, your profession, and your organization, if you don't mind. We are going to use several hashtags for social media. I'm going to send them on the chat box. For those who are interested in tweeting during the session, I'm going to send them in the few. Feel free to use those hashtags during the session. Just a minute, I've just lost something. And today, we are honored by the presence of our co-founder, Infonile, and the founder of Water Journalists Africa, Fred. Would you like to say something?
Thank you so much, Daddy. Not so much, really. Thank you so much for this. I probably want to thank, what I should say is to thank NEWF and National Geographic for accepting to be hosted at this webinar. We like the fact that we are hosting some of the great men and women in Africa who are going to be speaking to us. Thank you so much. I don't have much to say, but you can expect much from this webinar and more that will be coming. Yeah, thank you so much, Derry. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Fred. We are happy to see you today. And maybe just to remind each one of you that this session is being live streamed on YouTube and NILEL. YouTube, our username is Infonile, and NILEL, we are going to share the link that you can access it for future reference. As we've always done, I encourage each one of us to kindly mute your microphone unless you're speaking. And like I've said before, I'd like this session to be as interactive as possible, so don't shy away from asking your questions. You can type it in the chat box. If not, you can use the raise hand emoji. And then today, today we are going to talk about the Ocean Access Program by NEWF, and this program is for African scientists, conservationists, and storytellers. So as you can see, this topic is applicable to each one of us, for scientists who are here, conservationists who are here, storytellers who are here, and basically also the general audience. We have 5 speakers of the day. I'm going to introduce each one of them and give them a chance to say hi before we can dive into the program itself. So first speaker of the day is Noel Koch. Noel Koch is a National Geographic explorer, a storyteller, and the co-founder of Nature, Environment, Wildlife Filmmakers. He has an interest in natural history and stories of African conservation. Noel has a 25-year career in management, marketing, music, and media production. Noel has produced, directed, and distributed several music albums, live shows, documentary shorts, and a conservation television series. His real passion is in creating opportunities and unlocking barriers for entry of African storytellers. Noel, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Delhi. I'm really, really well. I want to say thank you to you and Frederick for allowing us to be here today, and I can't wait to get into sharing some of our work, and it really is a privilege. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Noel. We're looking forward to hearing more from you and your team. Our next speaker is Pragna Patison Koch. Pragna is a National Geographic explorer as well, a storyteller, and the co-founder of Nature, Environment, Wildlife Filmmakers. She's a South African storyteller, film and television producer, and a National Geographic explorer, that I have already said. And this is founded in her love for wild spaces, and serves as the co-founder, like I've said, and she graduated with a degree in social sciences from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, majoring in culture, communication, media, and performance studies. Hello, Pragna. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Delhi, and good afternoon, everyone. It is so good to be here this afternoon and everybody about specifically our Ocean Access Program. Noel and I together are the co-founders and executive directors of NEWF and the lead explorers on the Africa Refocus program. And yes, can't wait till we get into this in more detail.
Okay, thank you so much, Pragna. We are looking forward to your session, to your part of this session as well. Our next speaker is Nancy Iraba from Tanzania. Hi, Nancy. It's nice to hear from a fellow East African. So Nancy is a National Geographic explorer and an award-winning Tanzanian marine scientist, researcher, coral reef restoration expert, and a dive master. Iraba is a co-founder and underwater program lead at Aquafarms Organization, a marine conservation NGO based in Tanzania. She's also the co-founder and chief executive officer of Healthy Seaweed Company Limited. Within 3 months in 2021, Nancy transitioned from a non-swimmer to a dive master through NEWF Decade Dive Master Lab. Since then, she has pioneered coral restoration efforts on Nemba Island, leading on the restoration of more than 10,000 corals and degraded reef sites within the marine conservation area. Nancy has also established an underwater coral farm in the southern coast of Dar es Salaam for climate resilience coral research. She has trained about 20 local marine scientists and conservation through her initiative. And in 2017, she launched the Aquatic Resources Education Program to foster marine awareness and advocacy. Contributions have garnered several recognitions and awards, including the prestigious Hidden Eco Heroine Award. I think someone needs to mute on their end. Okay, so Iraba's ambition lies in guiding youth towards marine accessibility through education and skills development. Nancy is also a recipient of the 2024 Wayfinder Award presented by Kia. Hi, Nancy.
Hello, Delhi. Thank you so much for having me, and I think I'm really looking forward for the conversations.
Okay, thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us. Our next speaker is from Cameroon. His name is Aristide Tukwam Kamla. Aristide is a proud NEWF Fellow and a National Geographic explorer and Whitley Fund for Nature winner. He's also a marine researcher and conservationist and has worked in the conservation of African manatee and other large aquatic wildlife in Cameroon. In 2012, he completed a master's degree in animal biology at the University of Shang in Cameroon. In 2014, he founded the African Marine Mammal Conservation Organization, an NGO dedicated to the protection of aquatic species. To address the knowledge gap for aquatic species in Cameroon, he also established a fisher sighting network and built a mobile app called Siren to facilitate data collection and sharing by volunteer fishers. Yeah, so hi, Aristide, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for inviting me for this webinar, and I'm looking forward to share with with all the guests in this meeting and also with my co-panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aristide. Are you in Cameroon or South Africa?
Right now, I am in Cameroon, more precisely in a city called Kribi, one of our research sites in Cameroon.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you're the first speaker we're having from Cameroon. We've had several from DRC, but not Cameroon. So welcome very much to this session. So our next speaker is Shamir Magmoet from South Africa. Magmoet is an underwater documentary filmmaker, an ocean conservationist, diver, free diver and scuba diver from Cape Town, South Africa. It is also important to note that he's also a National Geographic explorer and a NEWF Fellow. After recently discovering the ocean at 33, Magmoet now does everything in his power to advocate for positive change within his community and country through education and providing our youth the chance to experience and access the ocean, becoming advocates and protectors thereof. In 2018, Magmoet co-founded the Ocean Initiative, NPO, See the Bigger Picture. In 2019, he entered the New Pitch competition and was one of the winners that received the opportunity to produce a short film. The name of the film is called From the Cape Flats, and it premiered in 2020. Out of this, he was nominated and received several honorable mentions, including My Hero's Silver Owl Conservation Award. Magmoet is also producing as a cinematographer, and he's the first underwater filmmaker of color in Cape Town. And he has 2 films and 2 new feature films in the development stage. Hey, Shamir, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Daily. Good afternoon, everybody. I look forward to this conversation with you all.
Okay, thank you so much, Shamir. We're going to dive into the rest of the program, and I'm going to give our speakers a chance, or rather an opportunity, to share with us with what they have. And our first speaker of the day is Noel Koch. Noel, the stage is yours.
In fact, actually, Pragna is going to start the introduction. Oh, yes, my apologies. Stephanie Maselli from Natio will just do the intro and then we will carry on.
Sure.
Apologies.
Thank you so much, Delegate and team, for having us. Before I kick it off, I just wanted to give you all some background today that Africa Refocused is a partnership between nature, environment, wild filmmakers, and National Geographic Society. So a little bit of background about us. A lot of times when you hear National Geographic, you might think of the stack of yellow border magazines, you might think of the documentaries or a photographer that you follow on social media, but we're also a global nonprofit organizations. And the term you've heard today, a National Geographic Explorer, those are grantees who we support, and they do really tremendous work in science, conservation, education, and storytelling. And that includes Noel and Pragna. They are perfect examples of that through our program, Africa Refocused. And really this collaboration came about because it's not enough to simply feature the landscapes of Africa. It's really important that we change the storyteller who's telling those stories. And I think in this climate, it's just especially important we're deliberate in sharing stories about our planet and reinforcing inclusion. So I'm thrilled to hear from you, and I'll hand it over to you.
I'm so sorry, Steph. I forgot you, sorry. But we're glad to have you. Thank you so much for introducing us to NEWF. Yeah, so Noel, the stage is yours.
Right now?
Sorry, I was just sharing my screen there for a minute. I hope everybody can see it. Yeah, so today we're talking about exploring ocean access, and I'm just going to start with a little bit of a background on who NEWF is. So NEWF is an all year round impact and community-centric organization that aims to remove the barriers to entry and enhance capacity for African nature, environment, and wildlife storytellers. We do this through multiple ways, which I'll get into just now. But in 2022, we collaborated with National Geographic Society, as Stephanie was saying, to launch Africa Refocused. What Africa Refocused did was supported our vision and allowed us to really scale the work that we were doing and host more capacity building initiatives. The aim of this is to allow African storytellers in global media and join conversations about Africa's nature and wildlife. The primary aim is to refocus the narrative of Africa so that the stories of Africa are told by and from the perspectives of African people. Some of the labs that we do, and these are essentially training and capacity building initiatives, producers labs, which is about developing stories and producing films, cinematography labs, specialized cinematography labs like underwater, which we'll get into just now, photography labs, dive labs, which is going to be a core focus of this session today, science storytelling, composers labs, which is producing music and score for films that resonate with African audiences, and post-production labs. I'm now going to hand over to Noel, who's going to talk a little bit more about ocean access.
Yeah, and I get very excited every time I've got to talk about ocean access because it's something, I always tell everybody, this was not dive labs and supporting ocean access was not something that was in our grand strategic plan. It came about as a response to a need that we found in the industry. You see, back in 2018, when we were having our second NEWF Congress, we were looking at ideas and some of the things that we can talk about with regards to story. And we looked at Africa as a continent. We said, okay, 30,000 kilometers of coastline surround the continent of Africa. 38 of the 54 countries have a coastline. Are we as Africans using that resource as a storytelling resource? Are we telling enough stories about the ocean? Are we being represented in the stories of Africa's oceans? And so when we were putting a panel together, we just assumed that we would put on a continent as large as Africa, we would put a Black African underwater filmmaker on the panel. Well, we searched and we searched and we searched, and it was almost impossible to find one. We did find one eventually in Kenya. But whilst we were searching, we came across something that really got us excited, because as we were looking for the storyteller, we came across hundreds and hundreds of marine biologists, some at master's level, some at PhD level, who couldn't swim, let alone dive. And so, the slide that I have on screen here says ocean access. We can't save what we can't see. Immediately we got excited because we're like, okay, if we are not telling these stories, if the conservationists and the scientists and the marine biologists who are studying this have not got access to go and see what's beneath the surface of the ocean, what are we doing? We're creating a generation of desktop scientists. And we just felt like, how much more powerful would it be if we were able to generate this, somehow find a way to create this access? And so back in 2019, we started what we call NEWF Dive Labs. And the idea was to go and look for funding that would create opportunity for dive access for scientists, conservationists, and filmmakers across Africa. Pragna spoke earlier about our collaboration with National Geographic Society. And since that collaboration, I like to say we have been supercharged by our collaboration with National Geographic Society. And we have really been able to amplify the work that we do in the ocean. From doing one dive lab a year, we have now opened in Sodwana Bay, South Africa. We have opened what we call our Storytelling Research and Dive Center, which is called EKAYA. Okay, there we go. That's the latest picture of our Storytelling Research and Dive Center. And the pool that you see right there is actually a dive pool where we do most of our dive training. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. Sorry, these slides are just moving slightly smaller. These are pictures of new fellows who most of them really are, qualified divers, but some of them are already instructors. And if you look down at the bottom left, this picture was taken by also National Geographic explorer Anthony Onyango, who just recently, he's a great topside and a land conservation photographer. And just recently, last year, he learned how to dive. And, he's brought that amazing skill from land, as you can clearly see underwater. Next slide. What has happened since 2019 is that, I don't know who allowed them to put this picture of me on the screen. What has happened for us since 2019 is that within the organization NEWF, we now have 310 fellows from 32 countries in Africa. 56% of those fellows are divers. So 176 divers, 176 of new fellows are certified divers. And those divers are made up of, there are 128 open water divers. There were 19 dive masters, but Nancy, and I'm sure she'll speak to that a little bit more a bit later, I think they have significantly increased that number. There are 3 instructors and there are 2 assistant instructors. And those 2 are currently in training at the moment to become full instructors, dive instructors. And then there are 24 free divers. So, if you look at this, it is, from just an idea and just from responding to a challenge, we have been able to build the community. And I say build the community because later on you will hear from the rest of the speakers about the unbelievable and amazing work that they do. But it's not just about ocean access. We said to you in the beginning, and about access to diving and access to dive qualifications. This Dive Labs program, our dive and ocean access program, is Pragna said earlier, we are also a storytelling organization. And so it is very much so also about storytelling. And Pragna, maybe you can speak a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. So we are a storytelling organization. So yes, it's important to get into the water with our dive labs. But one of the other elements of it is how do we make sure that with this ocean access, that fellows and camera operators and producers have access to the industry standard gear that allows them to film underwater. So through the support of Africa Refocus and National Geographic Society, we've been able to invest in high-end industry standard gear that once fellows have the dive accreditations and are extremely comfortable in the water, they're able to go there and film a shark and not be afraid of it, because nobody should be scared of sharks, and tell the stories in an authentic way. Here's another image of Muha, who's also a National Geographic storyteller, and musician. And he is also, just through diving, formed a real love to tell underwater stories as well. Noel, you want to talk a little bit about the films?
Yes. And so, that was the technical side of the storytelling in terms of having access to the right type of gear in order to tell. But, when you start creating this community and when you start getting this kind of access, I always like to say Africans are natural. I always like to say that Africans are natural born storytellers. And so when you get this kind of access, automatically immediately you're going to start telling films or making films that are close to your heart, or making films about things that inspire you. And earlier when Delhi was introducing Shamir, she spoke about his film called Rise from the Cape Flats, which is an award-winning film that he produced because and it spoke about his challenges to access to the ocean, and then eventually what he has now decided to do once he was able to get that access. And so we have since then and through this access we have produced and supported fellows and producers to produce at least 13 ocean themed short films. We have one ocean feature doc in development. And I want to play you a trailer of a film that just came about a fellow from Nigeria who came to, she's a scientist who came to learn to dive. And there were other fellows here at Ekaya at that moment, and they decided that they wanted to tell, they were so inspired by her journey and her story that they decided that they wanted to produce a short film about her. And I'm just going to maybe just play a little teaser about that, just for you to kind of get an understanding of her journey.
We joined this adventure as a group of 4 scientists. I don't think that any of us really understood how much our fears would block us from swimming and diving. How can I overcome this fear? How can I not get lost in such a big ocean? As a marine scientist, I would like to actually go and see these things for myself. It's not for you to know it, you actually have to see it. Not just studying it alone. I will not have walls to hold on to, but somehow I can't give up. I would be the first of my family to swim and dive.
Yeah, I hope you like that. And so if some of you are wondering how you can get involved, how you can apply for for funding, if you have a burning story to tell about the ocean, right now there's an open call. Well, it will be opening in April, and it's open for quite a while. It's the Takalani Mulautsi Development Grant for Ocean Films. It's aimed at mid-career to experienced filmmakers, and it's a development grant of 250,000 Rand, or plus minus 15,000 US dollars, to develop a concept of an ocean film that you can get to pitch level, to at least have a poster and a trailer and a real advanced pitch deck, which you can then go and try to get the funding to produce it. into a sort of feature film or a series going forward. You can also, I think at the end of the call, we'll be sharing our website details and how you can contact us. On the website, there are always there are always opportunities and call outs for the dive labs and opportunities for our Story Labs programs as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Noel. That was very insightful to know, and especially how we can be able to apply for for the open calls in future, and even the one that is opening up in April. Thank you very much, Pragna.
Kelly, that was Noel and I combined, so we'll hand over straight
Okay.
to Michael. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure by now we all understand more about this program, what it entails, and what it takes for you to join. Feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, and you can also, in case you'd like to ask, you have an opportunity to ask towards the end when I open the session for questions. So next we're going to have Nancy Iraba from Tanzania. Nancy is going to take us through the blue economy. Nancy?
Hello, Delhi. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Nancy Raba, and I'm going to delve more into blue economy, ocean access, and community. And just to add on from Noel and Pragna's presentation, I think it shows clearly what ocean accessibility impact of creating movements and also unlocking economic opportunities, things which I'm going to be talking about in the next few minutes. So as introduced, I'm a marine scientist, Nigel explorer, and a NEWF Fellow. But I'm also a co-founder of NGO known as Aquafarms Organization, which was founded back in 2017 for the purpose of driving economic empowerment for coastal communities and also blue economy developments in Tanzania. And it's founded and led by youth 8 years ago. And our organization is established by marine scientists. But the funny thing is that, sorry, I'm just having a hard time pulling my slides. Sorry, Derek, can you still see my slides?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. All right. I think now I know what's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me about that. Yeah, so it was established by marine scientists, but the funny thing is that none of us, the 13 marine scientists, none of us had ever experienced life below water until 2021, when I was selected to be part of the NEWF Decade Dive Master Storytelling Program. And you might wonder, but I think also the precious home, the story which Noel is just from elaborating, also it's a reflection of how marine scientists, most from Africa, how much most of us, we are so much taught in the theory part compared to the practical part. And most of us, we see the ocean quite very late or get to interact with the ocean actually very, very late, even at PhD level. And most of this is associated by barriers, some barriers to entry, such as high training costs. The cost of diving is very high, also expensive gears. There are also some limited training centers. Like if I can give an example here in Dar es Salaam, there is only one dive center, and that dive center it's so much geared to the foreign industry. rather than empowering the locals and ensuring that there is equity when it comes to ocean access. But also myth about the ocean. I'm sure some of us have experienced our parents telling us, why would you go to study the ocean? It's a place of fear. There are sharks. Sharks are going to eat you, and things like those. So this changed when I was selected for the NEWF Decade Dive Master Storytelling Lab. And in 2021, with determination and hard work, I transformed from being a non-swimmer to becoming Tanzania's first female dive master, capable of diving up to 40 meters. And for me, little did I know that this certification would become more than just a personal milestone. It would actually reshape ocean accessibility in my country, which I'm going to share in the next few slides. But also, this milestone was also published in a magazine, as you can see in the left-hand side, from a marine scientist who couldn't swim to a dive master. And my dad made sure that everyone bought this copy. So the copies were sold out that day. And now I'm coming to the bigger impact. Why ocean accessibility? Why do we need more ocean access to African scientists, storytellers, and filmmakers? What does the impact look like? So this is more of the impact which we have been able to achieve ever since I became a dive master. So in collaboration with NEWF, we initiated Tanzania Dive Lab. Tanzania Dive Lab has a vision of certifying more locals in a range of storytellers, scientists, and filmmakers to be able to explore the underwater world, carrying the spirit of Africa refocused here in my home country. And so far, we have been able to train and certify, that is from 2021 to now, we have been able to train and certify 40 scuba divers in the country in the range of marine scientists, storytellers, and filmmakers. And I started as the only dive master in 2021, but now we have 6 dive masters and 2 dive instructors. One has finished the dive instructors and one is at Ekaya currently, a female, finishing up her dive instructor, and she's going to be the first dive instructor in the country. But before that, she was already passing it on. She has actually also championed training of more locals to have certifications. And currently 51% are females and 49% are males in our database. And what is our impact? Because training is one thing, training and having accessibility with the ocean is one thing, but how does the impact look like? So through the organization, we have created an extra component to make sure that these certified divers actually have a place to put their skills at. So every year we have marine conservation internships where we equip local marine scientists with hands-on experience in marine conservation to empower them to lead efforts in restoring degraded coral reef ecosystem. Years back, work like coral reef restorations were seem like these are the works for the Western, when it was not common to see an African going into the deeper waters and contributing in restoring these degraded ecosystems, despite the fact that we just live in vicinity with them. So through these internships, we make sure that these locals are empowered to actually do the actual work. But also we have seen impact with the local marine scientists to secure marine conservation jobs. Marine conservation jobs are very competitive. And we are in a world whereby right now calling ourselves marine scientists and it is just theoretically based, you look quite very incompetent. So through these ocean accessibilities and the skills, we have seen these local marine scientists working in reputable marine conservation organizations. But also our trained divers are also training their locals in snorkeling and free diving, teaching them to be comfortable in water, passing it on to many others. And also documentation also of our own local films of life below water. So through the Africa Refocus program, we were very much inspired to start a storytelling department within our organization. So right now we have a communications, knowledge sharing, and storytelling department, and we make sure that in every project we are documenting the stories and we are sharing the stories with a wider audience, because we understand the powers of stories in changing the world, and the people who are behind in making sure that these stories are written and filmed are actually the locals, in which, as Noel always say, that if you want to change the story, then you need to change the storyteller. But also the people whom we have trained, they are now also sitting on Tanzania Develop Committee, helping us to shape the future of the ocean exploration, marine research, and dive trainings in Tanzania. So before in 2021, when I finished the NEWF training, I was quite very much alone, but right now there is this whole movement, as I said before, 40 divers and more are still coming up, in which together we put our heads to see how can we inspire more people to make sure that the ocean accessibility is not an exclusive field, but rather inclusive. But we're also inspiring the next generation of ocean leaders, making sure that we go to schools. And as you can see from the left, that is a Viara, and students get to experience the ocean through technology, and they get to be inspired to become future marine scientists. And with opportunities such as the dive labs, it inspires them that there are opportunities which they can get alongside with being marine science. Yeah, but also I would like also to spotlight Musa. So we work very close with fishermen, and this fisherman, his name is Musa. So Musa is a fisherman, but last year he was certified to be a dive master, and currently he is a conservationist. And what Musa currently is doing, Musa is using his skill to empower his community by teaching them safe diving practices, but also through ocean explorations and programs like Africa Refocus. Musa made his first international flights and is fostering Pan-African collaboration and friendship. And also I would like to mention that Musa is a very good friend of Shamir. And so Musa from the village coast of Tanzania, how would he ever meet with the legend National Geographic explorer like Shamir? So I think those also are some of the benefits in between that ocean accessibility can bring for collaboration. But also Musa owns an underwater camera, thanks to NEWF. And through this camera, Musa monitors the coral farms quarterly to ensure that our reef restoration are sustainable. So the pictures on the left, those are pictures which Musa takes every quarter and actually sends to us to see the progress of our farms. And on the other side, when you come to Tanzania, along the coast of Tanzania, there are about 25,000 women who are depending on a marine plant called seaweed for their livelihood. As you can see in the left hand, the woman is holding seaweed. That seaweed is ready to be dried and ready for buyers for exportation and for further value addition. And these women, they farm this seaweed in the ocean. But currently what is happening is that climate change is affecting the growth of seaweed, which is forcing these women now to move to the deeper waters in order for this seaweed to grow well. But moving in the deeper water also comes with its own package, which means that they need skills like swimming skills and freediving skills to be able to do a profitable seaweed farming. And also when you look at seaweed farming itself, it is an intergenerational farming dominated by women, which means that mothers have taught their daughters on the farming of seaweed. But what we're experiencing is that this kind of farming is becoming so much of old women generated, and young people are not so much inspired to enter into farming of seaweed. So how do we solve these challenges? So we have identified that programs like Tanzania Dive Lab in collaboration with NEWF have a very big impact for solution, which means that for these women now, we have a chance, we want to create an opportunity to teach them free diving skills, because when it goes to deeper waters, that is about 5 to 15 meters, there is a requirement of them to be having skills of going much more deeper compared to the traditional way of farming. And also we see it as an opportunity of attracting young generation into seaweed farming, because when you look before with the traditional way of farming, it looks quite very dirty, but right now there is an opportunity of being embedded with the skills and farming into the deeper waters, and young people love adventure. So we find it as a quite good solution to save this sector. And also better quality of seaweed also means better pay, which means that once these women are able to farm in the deeper waters, they will be able to produce higher quality seaweed, and higher quality seaweed attracts buyers, which at the end of the day, it improves their livelihoods because they get better pay. So we are seeing the intersection of ocean accessibility, not only in terms of making impact for the science, but also in the economic part. And these are my last remarks, that ocean exploration is more than just a discovery. It is about unlocking opportunities, as the way we have seen the way local marine scientists conquering their fear and be able to experience the ocean in a much more meaningful way. It is about expanding access. We have seen how one certification of a dive master has now created a movement of Africans who are very strong, not as fearful as before in terms of wanting to connect with the ocean. There are so many inspirational stories of people now want to experience the ocean much more further compared to how we were fearful as the way we were raised before. But it is also empowering communities to thrive within the blue economy, as the way we are seeing with the seaweed farmers. And when we break barriers to ocean access, we create pathways for local scientists, divers, and seaweed farmers to lead in conservation, innovation, and also sustainable livelihoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I've learned quite a lot from you. I actually never knew that seaweed seaweed is actually valuable to the community and can actually earn them a living. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Nancy Raba, one person I've had who has transitioned from being a non-swimmer to a deep sea diver. Thank you so much, Nancy. Our next speaker is Aristide from Cameroon. Aristide will take us through marine science. Aristide, take it away.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Ready? Okay, I hope you all can see my screen now.
Yes, yes, we can.
Excellent. So yeah, today I want to share with you a little bit of my story and my organization, and how we've made a step forward into our ocean in order to protect the marine biodiversity there. A little bit about myself. I'm a marine biologist, initially I wasn't. It's not something that I was planning to do when I was younger. Because I live in a community where ocean is not present. You know, this is the landscape where I grew up. It's mostly mountain, with just some little bit of stream. And I remember when I was little, when I would go to the somewhere in the river, just small river to swim, my mom will call me and beat me up because she thought that I wanted to suicide myself. So, and it built up some fear for the water. And on top of that, in my culture, water is seen mostly as as home for evil spirit, than a source of life. And in my community, some people like to say that water is only good for to drink and to maybe shower or cook. Apart from that, water is very dangerous. So that has really built up in me this fear for the ocean. And when I was doing my master, I came across a species that is called the African manatee. And it's a species that I discovered accidentally also when I was doing a literature review for one of the assignment that was given to us. And I did my university at the University of Chang, still in my in the mountain area of Cameroon. And it was a topic that, multi-topic that was given to the class, and the first come, first speak. But that day I was not there in the class, so I came when all my classmates was had already taken all the best topic, like the lions, elephants, and all these charismatic terrestrial animal. And I was only left with this topic called Study the Aquatic Megafauna of Cameroon. And I was like, oh, what is this kind of topic? I have to go, I went and Google it up and found out about whales. Uh, uh, I wasn't surprised by that. Dolphin, yeah, that was not a surprise, but I came across the African manatee. And I was like, wow, what is this species? I never heard about it. So that really triggered a curiosity to go further and study the species. So for my master research, I had to travel down to my university from my university in Chang down to Lake Osa, which is about 6 hours from my hometown, to study this emblematic species. This is how it looks like in the, this is not in a natural habitat. This is a kind of an aquarium in Europe where they have kept this specimen of African manatee. But in reality, this species is very shy. They lives in a very murky water, and they are very elusive. So observing them is not easy. And that's where having access to the underwater was a challenge, because I never learned how to swim. I started doing marine conservation, not even knowing how to swim. I was studying the manatee from a canoe boat. As you can see on the picture, this was my beginning in 2011, and this was already my second year on the field, and I was still doing my research just from above the boat, above the water surface on this canoe boat, looking for the manatee. And even like that, it was very challenging to see the animal, and especially that the animal was how can I say, elusive, shy. And I was expecting to see them as they see whales or dolphin that jumps out of the water, until I spent 2 months on the field and realized that this animal is not like the other marine species. So I have to collaborate with some fishermen who actually taught me how to observe the African manatee on the field, on the water. So there have been a very important partner into my research and into learning me how to study the African manatee, because those techniques that they used to spot the manatee were not present into the literature. There was no book that were explaining how to study the African manatee. And as at that moment, I realized the importance of collaborating with fishermen with the traditional knowledge, because they spend the time on the water for fishing, but in the same time they observe those things that we as researcher we don't often observe. And this is how I was able to spot my first manatee when one of those fishermen took me with the canoe boat and asked me, Aristide, stay quiet, and we'll take you to see a manatee. I wasn't even believing him, because I was almost discouraged that manatee is a myth, it's not a reality. And that really inspired me to start working a lot with the local community, because I realized that they have a lot of information that can contribute into science. And this also, so it's through those interaction with the community that I learned how to detect some signs of presence of the African manatee, as we see in these pictures, water bubbles, at the surface. So this is how we can know that a manatee is there. Or when you're lucky, you can see a snout of the manatee surfacing. So this is very lucky image. Or when they graze somewhere, they will leave some sign of grazing. Or not the least, their poop. And their poop is very important because their poop floats, and those poop contain a lot of information like DNA that we can use to identify them from the lab. As you can see here, when I was doing my PhD at the University of Florida, I was able to, use some of those fecal samples and isolate the DNA to be able to identify individuals, and also even looking at the population structure. So another way that we are studying marine wildlife is by using drones, as you can see. But unfortunately, with this, you cannot see enough with the animal, on the animals, you can only see them when they are surfacing, or also map their habitat. So one other important tool we use is the citizen science. My experience with the fishermen make me realize that if we empower them, they could contribute even further into marine conservation. So this is why I developed this mobile app called the Siren app, which is which allow the fishermen to take a photo and in the same time record the GPS location of where they've taken the photo. And with those, the image and the location and the date, we are able to build, a strong database of marine species in our country, something that was really lacking. We have now a database of about 30,000 observations of marine wildlife that has been documented by fishermen. And to do that, we have to empower them, train them, giving them a mobile phone with this Siren application installed on it, and they are able to bring this kind of amazing image. And thanks to National Geographic, we were able to scale up the use of the Siren app throughout the Gulf of Guinea. In most of the country of the Gulf of Guinea, as you can see on the map, the area in green is the areas where Siren is now used by partner organization with the local fishermen to document opportunistic sightings of marine wildlife. And it's important to note that the siren is also used in the UAE to monitor sea turtles. And one thing that the Siren app has allowed us to do is also to develop the first catalog of shark and ray of Cameroon, thanks to those data that fishermen have collected. So we were able to build this strong catalog of more than 46 species of shark and ray, which was pilot coordinated by another National Geographic explorer, Gofran Labiette, who's one of our staff as well. And with Siren, we were also able to, document a species of ray that we thought has disappeared or went extinct, like this specimen species of Mabula that we call Mabula hypostoma, that was not documented on the Gulf of Guinea for over 40 years, but through this citizen science and the contribution of fishermen, we were able to redocument this species, and we even made a publication out of it in collaboration with Mentacross. And same with this data, we were able to, advocate for the protection of 4 species of marine mammals. That's, as you can see on this decree by the Cameroon government listing 4 new species of marine mammal as integrally protected, means that it's forbidden to kill them. Siren has also given us the opportunity, to empower fishermen, and that's allow me to share here the story of Papa Mensah, who unfortunately passed away 2 years ago. He was one of the first fishermen who joined the Siren network when we started. And he not only was using the Siren app to document sea turtle, but he became also a very big advocate of sea turtle conservation in his community in Batoke, at the point that he was even chasing after people or sea turtle poacher in his community. He during the time he worked with us, he have saved more than 50 sea turtles and more than 500 sea turtle eggs. And he was even working, training his children on how to preserve sea turtle eggs, as you can see on the picture. But you've seen that all those images that I've shown you, all what I've described to you are those things that we were doing without having the skills for diving. And it was a big limitation for us because we were studying something that we could not see, or we could barely see. And we felt like there was something missing. You know, we needed to dive, make a step under the ocean and explore what is there. How does the lake look like on the water? What are the things that we can learn and improve conservation, improve policy? And this is where we came up. We were lucky to get in touch with NEWF and with the facilitation of National Geographic Society. I was able to go to Ekaya in South Africa and learn how to dive. And this was my first experience on the water, and it was an amazing moment. And you will see there's a video that we're going to play at the end that will describe this story further. But after this experience, I thought it would not be enough to just go and dive into South Africa. I came back in Cameroon, and with the support of National Geography, I did another dive, the first scientific dive into our water in Cameroon, and it was just amazing to be able to dive in our ocean in Cameroon. And again, that was also not enough because I was by then the only scientific diver into Cameroon. I felt like doing this alone will not have impact. We need more scientists to be able to explore the ocean in Cameroon. And again, with the support of NEWF and National Geography, we were able to launch a dive lab for Cameroon, but also Central West Africa that brought up 8 new divers that went to Ekaya and get their certificate to become open water divers. And when they came back, after they completed their training, they came back in Cameroon. And this time it's not the trainee who went to South Africa, but it's the trainer who came to Cameroon, and we did a wonderful dive with the new trainees. And you can see on the pictures Lee, who has been my teacher, and Cristo and Pedro from CS Pro, who moved from South Africa and came to Cameroon to do this dive with us. And we dive in many places, including in Limbe. You can see how the coral and the seacom looks like. Wonderful view. That was the first time we were observing this kind of habitat in our ocean. We even make a collaboration with the seaport of here in Kribi, where I'm doing this meeting. And for the first time, we're exploring how do we call that? That's what we call in French a dig, like a windbreak, right? Yes, I think a current break that they constructed, and we could, for the first time, we're seeing how it was creating some habitat for many species of fish. We documented over 36 species of fish during only the 6 dive that we did here. So it shows that there's a lot of opportunity for research, but also for conservation. We also went to Sao Tome and did dive and dive there. It was wonderful. And the one thing that I would like to note is that amongst the divers that we trained recently, there was Prince, who is the son of Papa Mensa that I mentioned earlier, and who followed the step of his father. His father was not able to dive. His father was a good swimmer, yes, but he didn't have access to the underwater. But through his son, we gave this opportunity to his son to be able to pursue what his father has started. And he told me that his father has always wanted him to join AMCO. And today I'm happy to inform you that Prince, who is a fisherman, by the way, is now part of AMCO and is working with local fishermen to save sea turtle. And just in only 2 years, he has already saved more than 15 sea turtles from fishing nets. and is not only an open water diver. He went back to South Africa with one of our staff, Thierry, to become dive master. And we hope that they will be able to lead the dive center that we are planning to open in Cameroon in the few months. So apart from, exploring by diving, we also do explore the water using some advanced equipment. Here is the grab cam, or the underwater camera that was brought to us by National Geography. We did a wonderful expedition here, sending this camera at the bottom of the ocean to record the different wildlife species that were there. And it was a wonderful experience. And it also, generate some echo at the level of the government. They were very excited to even see that National Geography is interested about our ocean. And they were so curious that what is so important about our ocean that National Geography will come and bring some fancy equipment to explore our ocean. Yeah. And we also do some boat dolphin and whale survey from the boat. And we do that every year to document the species of cetaceans that occur on our coast. So what do we do with all those images? Why are we collecting all this information? Why those underwater images are important? They're important because that's what is a key instrument to change or to inspire the younger generation. As you can see, when we on the picture, the students and younger generation visualizing our images through the VR, and you can see how they are wow, they are marvel. These are things that they didn't have the opportunity to see before. It's now they're accessing it through the VR, where this is a beginning, a step before they get into the ocean by themselves. We hope that by seeing this with their eyes, tomorrow they will come back and maybe ask us to train them how to go into the ocean. So, and also we have also used the data that we have collected to share it with the government to advocate for a better policy for marine conservation, for the creation of marine protected area. And so to conclude, it's important to know that the ocean, access to the ocean in West Africa, especially in Cameroon, is very limited by many factors, not only by the culture, the traditions, but also by the resources and the logistics. And when in this situation, it gives the way to the factors that are destructive for our habitat to prevail, like IUU fishing. I always say that people doesn't live on the ocean. The ocean is protected by people who value it. And we cannot value something that we don't see. If we don't value it, then the people who destroy, or the activity that destroy those habitat, will destroy it, like bottom crawling boat who comes and drags the bottom of our ocean without being noticed, without anybody realize that something has happened. And building these soldiers of divers, we give the opportunity for us to monitor our habitat, to know what is going on, and to raise the alarm to the government, to the international community when something is going wrong. And this is only how we will ensure a sustainable use of our marine ecosystem. And we are also now working to establish a dive center in Cameroon. By the end of this year, we're going to have a dive center, and we are looking forward to continue collaborating with NEWF and with National Geography to support us in this initiative. And I would like also to acknowledge the support of the IUCN and Septembrion, and with whom we are collaborating to establish this first dive center in Cameroon that we hope will change or we improve access to the ocean in our country. With that, I would like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Aristide. for giving us an experience of how, or rather what this takes or entails. We are really grateful for that. I'm aware that we need to play your video of your experience.
Yes, exact. Thank you.
Steph, will you be playing it? Okay. As we wait for Steph, I think, hey, Steph.
Hi. Yes, I'm pulling that up.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for that. In the meantime, guys, I'd like to remind you to keep typing your questions in the chat box in case you have any. But if you'd like to ask the questions yourself, you can write them somewhere. And then during the question and answer session, you can use the raise hand emoji and ask your question directly. Steph?
So it means that we were not really seeing what we were studying. I am the president and founder of the African Marine Mammal Conservation Organization, also called AMCO, and we are working to protect the large aquatic wildlife such as the African manatee, the Atlantic humpback dolphin, sea turtles, shark, and rays. We're using techniques such as collecting water samples and doing some molecular genetic analysis to determine what species are there or even their abundance. So now we want to make a step forward. We want to dive underwater to observe those animals in their natural habitat so that it will inspire the younger generation, but also it's going to trigger policies that will enable the protection of those species and their habitats. My first dive in open water. I can remember the gold rule. Keep breathing, breathing slow and nice. Yes, let's go. The first dives were very challenging for me. My brain was really messing up with me. First experience, amazing, a little bit of panic, and I puke. I feel so bad today. So there are challenges, but I'm very excited. But when I was able to deal with all that anxiety, it was beautiful. After this experience, I really want to encourage African marine scientists, especially marine scientists from Cameroon, that they should learn how to dive. You can do it.
Thank you so much, Aristide. That is encouraging to know that I can actually learn how to dive. Yeah, in the interest of time, we're actually 27 minutes behind schedule. So I'm going to call the next speaker, who is Shamir. Shamir is going to take us through storytelling and community education. And considering we've eaten into Shamir's time, I don't know whether Shamir can present this in about 7 minutes. Shamir? Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Telly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I am from Cape Town, South Africa, and my diving journey or my ocean journey started 8 years ago. 8 years is actually very recent. I feel like a new baby to the ocean. And I have two reasons why it took me so long to start my ocean journey. One reason was because when I was growing up, there was a very famous Hollywood movie that just came out. It was about this killing machine, killing everybody in the water. Maybe some of you have heard of the name before. It is Jaws. So Cape Town is world famous, or used to be world famous, for having great white sharks. And because of this movie, this was one of the reasons why I was scared and had the fear of God in me. And This was one of the reasons why I didn't want to set my foot in the water at all. The second reason for starting my journey so late is that here in South Africa, a lot of black and brown people grow up and we say that the ocean is not for us, or we grow up with a mindset that the ocean is not for us. But just there's a reason for that. A couple of years ago, during apartheid, these beaches literally was not for us. We were told, you don't belong here. If you come here, we're going to arrest you. We're going to beat you up. So we grew up still thinking that beaches is not for us. This is actually a sign from a few years ago from one of the famous beaches in my city. And then fast forward to 8 years, I got my first invitation to go for my very first free dive. The guy in the photo's name is Junaid Peterson. He was the very first guy that took me on my first free dive. And obviously on this day, I was left with a lot of feelings. One of the feelings that I had, firstly, it was one of the most scariest days in my life. The first time putting on a mask and the first time seeing the ocean below the surface. So one of the feelings that I had on this first dive was frustration. Frustration because I only live 40 minutes away from the ocean, but it took me 33 years to finally get this experience. Nobody told me that I could do this. So because of that frustration, when I calmed down and I saw that there was no great white sharks coming to chase me or coming to eat me, I started to see and notice how the ocean started opening itself up to me. I started seeing all the life and the beauty that the ocean had. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to do everything in my power to dive more. I wanted to learn more about the ocean so that I could now use my time to teach the children so that they don't have to go their whole lives without knowing how beautiful it is under the surface of the ocean, and so that they could see that this is their heritage and this is a space wherein they belong as well. So a year after me starting to dive, I started my own organization. I co-founded the organization called See the Bigger Picture. And then we started teaching children how to snorkel. But again, for me, this was not enough. This was not ocean justice to me. I wanted something more for myself, and I wanted something more for these children's, more than what I had. I wanted them to have an education. So because I am not a scientist, one of my superpowers is I am a people's person, and I started making friends with scientists, and I started making really good friends, becoming good friends with a husband and wife couple, Dr. Nasreen Pierre and Dr. Nelson Miranda from Organoid Science. I told them what I wanted to do with my program, and together they helped me to develop a curriculum to teach our children. So now our children was not only getting a fun day at the beach, snorkeling, they were now also becoming little young citizen scientists, learning how to do investigations, learning what these big words like hypothesis mean, learning different methods of investigating and coming up with their own conclusions. So on our project, we teach them how to use or how to take samples from water systems, starting at river points because all rivers lead to the ocean. And then we teach them how to, after taking these samples, we teach them how to investigate the samples for life. So here in this photo, they are trying to see how much life they can find to determine whether or not the water is healthy or not. And all of this is obviously done under the watchful eyes of our mentors. We also teach them about sharks. Sorry, I'm just speeding through the presentation because of lack of time. So we also teach them about sharks so that they don't grow up and see a evil movie about evil sharks. So we teach them about sharks and how cool sharks are. And then after teaching them how cool sharks are, we actually get into the water and go and try to find sharks, try to count how many sharks we can find. And then obviously we will record that data as part of our citizen science. But again, this program was not enough teaching children was not enough. What about their siblings? What about their parents? What about their family members? So in the spirit of NEWF and breaking down all these barriers and creating access, I also started a program which I run 4 times a year. And I actually named it after my film title, Rise from the Cape Flats. It's a community event that I open up to the public, no matter how old they are, no matter how young they are, whether they can swim, whether they can't swim. If you haven't tried snorkeling, I just invite you to come and try. If you can't swim, I'll put a mask on your face and I'll pull you around in the water so that you can still get that experience. And this event is done with the help of basically all of my friends, because none of these events can be done alone. We need the help of everybody. So it's another event that I open up to the public. So now it's not only children, it's public from all ages. And this is how it looks from the water to the beach. And on each event, we have a minimum amount of people that attends. The minimum amount is 150 people that attends these events. And then again, this also for me, it's not enough. Whenever I go into the ocean, I still take my camera in with me. I try to document all the stories that I see so that I can take these stories to an even broader audience, people that I don't know. I want to take everybody around the world with me to see what the ocean looks like and show them the different stories that there is. I also collaborate with Africans like Nancy, Rava, a friend of mine, Prashant. He's also a NEWF Fellow and National Geographic Explorer from Mauritius. Anything I can do to help everybody with their ocean journeys, I am there for everyone. And sorry once again for speeding through the presentation. I know time was a bit of a factor, but thank you all for diving with me.
Thank you so much, Shamir, and thank you also for letting us know about your experience as a diver, and also the fact that we all can learn at whatever age. I'm actually interested in knowing how to dive and how to snorkel. I've tried a little bit of snorkeling, but I'd like to know how to dive. We'll meet behind the tent for that. Um, Guys, I really apologize for the fact that we've gone beyond the scheduled time. So we'll quickly move to the next session. I'd like us to type in our questions, but as we type in our questions, I have one question directed to Noel and Pragna. What are some of the challenges you face in the Ocean Access Program that you'd like us to take note of, or you'd like other conservation initiative, other ocean access programs to take note of?
I think one of the biggest challenges for us, or not challenges, is yes, whilst we have the facility in South Africa, we would like to support other organizations, fellows, explorers, to start their own organizations in their own home countries. Whilst everybody, at the moment, we have the facility where, just like how Nancy and Jerry and Aristide have begun starting in Cameroon and Tanzania, I think we want to be able to do that all across Africa. So in so many places around Africa where there is diving, it is still only geared towards international tourists and not geared towards the people. And we need to change that. We need to create an equitable ocean across Africa if we are going to achieve the goal, the dreams of the 30 by 30 global initiative. We can't be screaming to protect 30% of our oceans when less than probably 30% of Africans have access to the ocean, and equitable access. And we really need to fix that. So that for me remains one of the biggest challenges, and it remains a big inspiration at the same time, because that's something that we can overcome.
Okay, that brings to mind the question: do we have such a program in Kenya? I know you have Antonio Cheng, who is one of your fellows. Do we have such an initiative in Kenya so far?
Ragnar, you want to answer, Masa?
Well, we don't specifically have an initiative in Kenya, but there are a number of fellows and dive fellows who have participated in our program who are Kenyan and National Geographic explorers as well, such as Jahawi Bertoli, who's working closely with a conservation organization in Lamu to also, not diving, but ocean access for the Lamu community.
Okay. Thank you. That's really great to know.
There's also, if I may add, there's also Dr. Juliet Carissa, who does amazing work down with communities in Mombasa. And whilst it might not necessarily be directly about ocean dive certification, they are also facilitating storytelling and ocean access for the community and doing amazing conservation work. So there's a number, it might not necessarily be 100% ocean access, but in Kenya, there's also a significant amount of organizations and amazingly brilliant people doing some, great work.
Okay. That's great to know. Thank you. The other question would be, what would you say are some of the most sustainable conservation measures that have been implemented courtesy of the Ocean Access Program or its fellows?
Nancy.
I was just going to say, that's a question for Nancy.
Sorry, Delhi, you're asking about sustainable measures? Can you a bit just repeat?
Okay, I'm asking what are some of the outstanding sustainable conservation measures that have so far been implemented courtesy of Ocean Access Program and or its fellows?
Okay, so for instance, I think maybe if I can speak for the part of Tanzania, right? One thing which I didn't mention is that for my case, when I became a dive master in 2021, I was doing a research whereby I was capturing octopus on land, all right? And I think I've just been able to experience octopus in the ocean just 3 weeks ago. So my point is that that time also I was inspired by to study the coral reef in 2021. And fast forward after NEWF, I was able to lead the first coral restoration program in Zanzibar in the coast of Mnemba. And I was the first, actually, that type of work mostly you find foreigners doing it. So even when people used to come, they used to wonder, like, you're the one doing it, an African lady doing this. And ever since then, also through the Tanzania Dive Lab in collaboration with NEWF, what we have done, we have produced more marine scientists who are working in coral reef restoration. And the type of the impact, you will go to the southern coast of Kilwa, you'll find that we're establishing coral farms. And currently, we are working to restore 1 kilometer square in Kilwa, in Tanzania. And we have already so far been able to restore about I think 800 meters square of degraded coral reef where Kayanda, I spotted the fisherman in my presentation, and it is existing, and the restoration are still ongoing, and the community themselves are the one monitoring those farms. So all I can say is that sustainable conservation efforts are ongoing. Many people are still being trained. It's not only for the part of the scientists, changing they are supplementing their skills with restorations underwater, but also even the storytellers right now, they are making stories, getting sustainable stories of filming those activities which we are doing. So yeah, and it is ongoing, and I think we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, thank you so much, Nancy, and congratulations for being one of the very few African conservationists doing such initiatives in Zanzibar, a truly beautiful place. Guys, I would like you to ask your questions directly. Anyone with a question, please feel free to use the raise hand emoji. There's also someone who had typed their question earlier on, very early into the session, but I was logged out and I lost that question. Steph, your hand is up.
Yes, very quickly before we dive into Q&A, I just wanted to share a slide with you all.
Okay, okay.
You see that? And just
Yes,
to
we can see it.
Awesome. Just to plug that NEWF has one of their signature events happening, NEWF Congress. As Noel says, it's a big family reunion, as I've been told, and hundreds of storytellers, members of the NEWF community all convene, and there are in-person and virtual attendance opportunities, so wanted to plug that. Here's the email if you're interested in registration. And then also, if a number of you are journalists, if you want to set up media interviews, my contact information is here, my email. Feel free to add me on WhatsApp if you'd like to talk to our 5 all-star panelists or many people in the youth community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Steph, for highlighting that. We have a question in the chat box. Makur Majeng is asking, how can this program support my Save the Nile initiative in South Sudan? We educate communities on the dangers of plastic waste and mobilize cleanup campaigns, but we lack more resources to implement some initiatives. My question is, how can NEWF and other NPOs help us further our efforts to raise awareness and advocate our policies for our policies?
I think I just responded to him right now in the chat, where I said that maybe he should reach out to us in mid-April. And I say mid-April because from now until mid-April, we'll be completely swamped with our Congress. But we'd like to maybe learn a little bit more about the project and then see exactly what are his needs, and then to see how we can almost try to support with a tailored response,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that, Noel.
Our email in the reply to him.
Yeah. Makur, I can see you've raised your hand up as well. Would you like to add on something, or you have a different question?
Yeah, I would like to add on, as you said that he wants to learn more about the project, but I don't know whether I should email him or I just tell him now.
No, kindly email him in the interest of time.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else would like to ask a question? Please use the raise hand emoji. We are all wowed by the diving and the snorkeling. Does anyone have a question or a comment or a word of encouragement to the fellows? Okay, they'll stay on through the session. The next session is the quiz session. In case anyone still has a question, you can ask at the end after the quiz session. So we're going to move right into the next part of our program. And Primrose is going to ask questions based on the presentations we've just had. The first person to get it right is the winner to that question. And the cumulative winner out of the 5 questions will be sent a small token of appreciation as a mode of encouragement to all of us who joined. So Primrose, hi.
Hi, Delhi. Thank you so much to all the presenters. This was an insightful session. We have 5 questions for our trivia section today, and please feel free to type in the chat for the for the questions that need that are multi-choice. Please feel free to type the option that you choose, and then for those that require an answer, please type in the chat. Our first question is, what major shift is Africa refocused, in brackets, NEWF, bringing to the world of storytelling? The question goes, what major shift is Africa refocused, in brackets, NEWF, bringing to the world of storytelling? And the options are a focus on outside perspectives in African storytelling, a shift to prioritize authentic African voices in nature and wildlife stories, C, a move to fictionalize African natural history, and D, a focus on political issues in African storytelling. So you could choose A, B, C, or D. Please feel free to type in the chat. The question again is, what major shift is Africa refocused in brackets NEWF bringing to the world of storytelling? Option A is a focus on outside perspectives in African storytelling. B is a shift to prioritize authentic African voices in nature and wildlife stories. C, a move to fictionalize African natural history, and D, a focus on political issues in African storytelling. Do we have an answer, Delhi? Do we have anyone with an answer?
We have answers already. We have answers here. What is the correct answer?
The correct answer is
B.
B. The correct
B,
answer
that
is
was
B.
Caroline Tono.
Yeah, Noel emphasized that they are trying to prioritize Africans to tell their own stories, because in the past we have had people from other continents and other countries tell these stories, but we want to see Africans tell their own stories. So it's B.
B for
Then,
boy, right?
yeah, B.
That is Caroline Tomno next. I think you'll just read each question once, but you read it clearly in the interest of time.
All right. Then the next question is, which economic activity in Tanzania benefits coastal communities while supporting ocean exploration programs? Which economic activity in Tanzania is benefiting coastal communities while supporting ocean exploration programs? Please type the answer in the chat.
We have an answer already. What is the correct answer? We have 3 responses.
The answer is seaweed farming.
Okay, that is Thomas. Thomas 1, Carol 1. Next question.
The next question is, list 4 signs that indicate a manatee is present in the water. List 4 signs that indicate a manatee is present in the water.
So they need to list all of them?
Yes, please.
Okay. Guys, 5 seconds. Tawamba will ask you a question after. That's fine. Well noted. Guys, please send in your responses. We have Doreen so far. Anyone else? You said 4, right?
Yes, 4 signs. Yes, please.
One more person, then we close. Okay, I think let's close at this. What are the answers, Prim?
Okay. Aristide mentioned water bubbles, surfacing nostrils, grazed vegetation, and floating fecal matter. So those are the 4 signs.
Caroline Tomno.
All right.
Doreen got 2. Doreen got 2, but 1. Okay. Next.
All right. The next question is, what is the catchphrase or catchword for the NEWF Ocean Access Program? What is the catchword or catchphrase for the NEWF Ocean Access Program?
No options?
No options.
Okay. Someone else? Doreen has given the first response. It is a thing. You cannot change what you cannot see. There's drums. What is the answer, Prim?
The answer is, we can't save what we can't see. And C is SEA for context. We can't save what we can't see.
Save what you can't see. So who's the right answer? There's Caroline. Just a minute.
I think Samira got it right. We can't save what we cannot see.
Answer. Doreen was the first answer, but she wrote, we can save what we can't see. That is wrong. And then there's Caroline was the third one. We can't change what we can't see, with the C for the ocean. And then Samira came in after. We can't save what we cannot see, which is right, but she came in later. So the correct answer is Caroline. Caroline 2. Next question.
The last question, I noticed that while the presenters were giving their presentations, they talked about so much fear of the ocean and yeah, the fear to actually dive. So my last question is, what is the word that describes, or what is the phobia word that describes an intense and persistent fear of oceans, maybe also seas? What is that phobia word called? The phobia, okay, the phobia for the ocean, what is it called?
Water phobia, thalassophobia. Any other question? Any other answer, response? Thalassophobia. So we have two different spellings. Prim, which is the correct answer?
Thalassophobia, which is, I think Evelyn got it right.
So the first person to write thalassophobia was Samira.
Yes, please.
Evelyn, wait, you said thalassophobia with TH?
Yeah, the spelling that Evelyn wrote is the correct one,
Oh,
thalassophobia.
Evelyn. Okay, thank you, Evelyn. So those were 4 questions or 5?
Those were 5 questions.
5. We have Caroline with 2, Evelyn 1, Thomas 1. Those are 4. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Primrose Caroline Tomo is our winner again for this session. She was our winner also for the last session. I hope we've given the correct answers, Noel, Pragna, and the team. I hope there's no one we've awarded wrongly based on your assessment and expertise on this topic. Yeah, so before I end the session, I just want to say thank you, everyone. But there's one question, I think, to the speakers. Let me just ask it before we close. Saj says thank you to the speakers and the presenters. And then Tawamba is asking, what is the added value of environmental education in this initiative? Do secondary and higher education policies support such initiatives? Are they purely private efforts? And my second question is, what is the economic model? Just a minute, I've lost the question. What is the economic model behind these issues, especially for professional career in terms of equipment supply? Noel, you could take this question or you could delegate to any of the panelists.
I think, and it's a pity Shamir had to get off because he would be perfect to sort of speak to the first part. At the same time, I think Aristide spoke a lot about it, with regards to environmental education, in terms of going to schools and creating impact amongst children at schools and inspiring young people to look at when they see somebody like Nancy, who is a marine biologist, suddenly you see nature and wildlife not just as in some cases or in the past. A lot of times people would think that, oh, the careers available is to be a ranger or a guide, and not that there's anything wrong with that. But it's also important that they see that you can be a marine biologist, that you can be Dr. Aristide Kamla, and get a PhD in marine science and lead these significant research projects. I think that's one of the sort of added value things. With regard to secondary and higher education policies supporting such initiatives, but they're purely private efforts. At the moment, it's a sort of NGO, MPO private sort of effort. There aren't any sort of universities or schools supporting this kind of level of ocean access for various reasons. Resources, lack of funding is critical. Even in the sort of private universities, we find that a program like Ocean Access for students is still a very sort of privileged sort of approach, and it's rather seen as a privilege, and not many higher education organizations, even if they are private, are offering this to children. to students. And then lastly, I think from economic moral perspective, I want to, and for professional career, the only thing that I can speak to, or that I'd like to speak to, is, you know, being an underwater cinematographer or a photographer can be extremely lucrative. And it can be something very rewarding. Shamir just got back from filming in India, in one of the most beautiful places in India last week. Um, Somebody so from a filmmaking and going to some of the most amazing places in the world to document underwater filmmaking and photography is not, you don't get somebody who has that skill every single day. And so it's a sought after skill, and therefore it can be lucrative, and you can make a really great, but you must be warned that the equipment is extremely expensive, and that some of the things we try to break down the barriers to, in terms of with our ocean access program, by creating opportunities for Africans to get experience on with that equipment, so that with that kind of experience they can then get the jobs and hopefully be able to raise the funding to buy their own equipment.
Okay, thank you so much, Noel. I have a question directed to you. What are you doing to increase the number of divers in Africa? Do you have specific measures other than the programs you're having?
I think we're doing as much as we can. Okay, and we are reaching out and we are trying to get as many organizations to get this started. There are so many countries where no diving has even taken place. They are, and we can just continue. And thank you to platforms like this, that we can get the word out there, that we can inspire people to want to come and explore this. I think Aristide spoke about how his grandmother or his mom would shout at him for and wanted to keep him away from the ocean. And so many of us have, in our cultures, have stories that were made up not to scare us, but rather to protect us from the ocean. Because one, we couldn't swim. We also need to remember that the ocean was a place that once upon a time took us away. And so passed down to so many of our elders, the ocean has been a place of fear. So increasingly we've got to dispel those fears from our communities, and we need to show that and inspire young children across Africa to see themselves in the scientists, to see themselves in the ocean storytellers, and to realize that this is part of who they are, and that the ocean is part of our heritage, and that we need to reclaim that natural heritage, and that we need to protect it. Okay. And that it's not only support.
Yeah.
And my biggest dream is that, the ocean does not only be a place of worship, a place of feeding, or a place of work. It must also become a place of constant recreation for us as we must enjoy what we have. And the more you love it, the more you will protect it.
Okay, thank you so much, Noel. I just have a question. I'm sure a majority of our audience today is from East Africa, and they cover mostly stories around the river and specifically the Nile Basin. So question is, based on your catchphrase, we can't save what we can't see. Can we be able to write conservation stories on rivers and still, can we be able to dive when you're writing these stories? Can we dive into rivers? Is it possible?
Well, depends. I think most rivers is not necessarily possible, depending on the visibility and the river flow and that kind of stuff, etc. But there are definitely, we would love to see more journalists getting involved, more journalists coming to learn to dive, so that you can tell those stories, that you can be inspired to see If you go and you dive and you can maybe find a reef that's been devastated by, when you can see firsthand, when you see a reef that has been devastated by illegal, I don't want to say illegal, I want to use unsustainable fishing practices, okay? And then when you see a very healthy reef, when you see that for yourself as a journalist, you would then be, you know what you're writing about. You've experienced firsthand and seen the devastation or the life or the value of protecting something. I think it's critical that we get more African journalists to give them that kind of access. And we know that so many of us, the challenge starts with swimming. A lot of our fellows, one of our fellows from Cameroon, she's also an actress. She came up with this phrase when she was wanting to come and dive. We asked her, how is her swimming? And the response was, it's African good. Okay. And so a number of us are faced with that challenge of having, our swimming level is just African good. So increasingly, we're bringing swimming training into the program as well, so that you can become more comfortable in the ocean and in the water or in the rivers or in the dams. And it's not just, I think it's not just rivers, right? There are significant lakes in Africa that can be dived, that can be explored, that should be explored. And maybe that's another opportunity that we should look at.
For that, Noel. Guys, I know there's so many other questions that are coming in right now. I will not be able to ask these questions right now because we are way beyond time by 26 minutes. So in case you have any questions directed to any of the speakers, feel free to inbox them or write to the emails they have just provided. Noel provided his and Steph also provided hers. You can ask those questions, and we are going to have another session next week but one, and I'm sure we're going to also have Noel, Steph, and Pragna on the call, so we can get more insight from them about that. Other than that, I am really grateful that we all made time to stay on this call up to this time. I really appreciate that's a big sacrifice. And I really want to thank the speakers for making time to join us. Shamir, Nancy, and Aristide, congratulations on your completing your fellowship at NEWF, and also for the insightful presentations you have shared with us. For Steph, Pragna, and Noel, it's a privilege to work on you on this program and this session. So we are looking forward to more insightful conversations around conservation in Africa and the world at large. I really want to close this at this point. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Have a good one. Feel free to unmute and just say bye, and we can close. I will send the link to where we can get resources and the live recording tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Bye. Please unmute and tell me bye. Thank you. Bye.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. It has been so interesting. Bye.
Bye. Bye.